Tonight, the Platinum Hotel was as if draped in crushed diamonds, the chandeliers illuminating the lobby so brightly it was dazzling, even the air filled with the sweet scent of champagne. I wore the custom-made gown Eric had specially ordered for me. As the silk brushed against my wrist, I could still recall what he had said this morning while pulling up the zipper for me. Wonwan, tonight is our 3rd wedding anniversary, and also the company's anniversary celebration. You have to be the most presentable wife. Back then, I was still laughing in his arms, feeling that marrying him was the best decision of my life. He was the vice president of the Lin Group, young and promising, and considerate to me. When outsiders mentioned us, they all said that I must have accumulated good karma in my previous life to be able to marry into such a family. But now, I stood at the corner of the 2nd-floor corridor, still clutching the compact with freshly applied makeup in my hand, yet the blood in my entire body seemed to freeze instantly. The emergency exit at the end of the corridor wasn't closed properly, revealing 2 figures, one of whom had a tall and straight back that I was all too familiar with. It was Eric. The woman beside him, wearing a fiery red halter dress with a hemline short enough to reveal most of her legs, was none other than his secretary, Melissa. I originally wanted to find a quiet place to get some fresh air because it was too noisy downstairs, but I didn't expect to hear something I shouldn't have as soon as I got here. First, Melissa's coquettish voice, with a hint of pleading. "Brother, are you sure there's really no problem with that thing? What if someone finds out?" My heart sank, and my feet felt like they were made of lead, unable to move an inch. Immediately after, Eric's voice came through, devoid of any of the tenderness he usually showed me, replaced with an icy ruthlessness, like a poisoned blade. "What's there to be afraid of? I had someone bring it back from overseas. It's colorless and odorless. At most, half an hour after drinking it, it'll seem like a sudden heart attack. Who would be able to find out?" Melissa's voice rang out again, filled with glee. "What if she doesn't drink it? I don't think she has much of an appetite tonight. She barely drank any wine at the gala just now. She'll drink it." Eric's tone was confident, even a little mocking. "I've already told the waiter to bring that laced glass of red wine over in a bit, and say it's a special anniversary blend I prepared just for her. She loves me so much, how could she not drink it? Once she drinks it, she won't wake up again." The last sentence was spoken so casually by Eric, but it struck me like a thunderclap, making my eardrums ring. The compact in my hand dropped to the floor with a thud, the case cracking, and the powder spilling everywhere. The sound startled the person inside, and Eric turned around sharply, his eyes meeting mine. His pupils constricted instantly, and a flicker of panic crossed his face, but it was quickly masked, replaced by a feigned surprise. "Wonwan, what are you doing here?" Melissa also turned around. When she saw me, a guilty look flashed in her eyes, which was immediately replaced by a pitiful appearance. She even hid behind Eric, as if I were some man-eating beast. I stood there, my fingertips digging into my palms, my nails almost piercing the skin, but I couldn't feel any pain. I looked at the man I had loved for 3 years and been married to for 3 years, at the vicious heart hidden beneath his suit, and felt a chill all over my body. So all that so-called consideration and tenderness was fake. The gentleness he showed when zipping up my dress this morning was fake. The message he sent me at noon saying, "I have a surprise for you tonight," was fake. The way he held my hand at the banquet just now, saying, "It's so good to have you here," was also fake, from beginning to end. He never intended to live a good life with me. What he wanted was for me to die. I opened my mouth, my voice hoarse with shock and fear, unable to utter a complete sentence. Eric took 2 steps forward, wanting to come over and help me up, his face displaying that gentle expression I once loved the most. "Wonwan, what's wrong? Are you not feeling well? Why is there so much powder on the ground?" He reached out to touch me, but I recoiled as if shocked, stepping back to avoid his touch. "Don't touch me." I finally found my voice. Though it still trembled, every word was laced with ice. "Eric, I heard everything you just said." The tenderness on Eric's face froze instantly, and the panic in his eyes could no longer be hidden. He glanced at Melissa, then looked at me, trying to argue. "Wonwan, you must have misunderstood. I was just talking to Manli about work. Maybe you misheard, work-related matters." I sneered, tears finally falling uncontrollably, not because of sadness, but because of anger and disgust. Do work-related matters require saying drink this and you won't wake up again, requiring saying laced wine? Eric, do you take me for a fool? Melissa saw that Eric was about to be unable to hide it, so she simply stopped pretending. She walked out from behind Eric, arms crossed, with a provocative smile on her face. Evelyn, since you've heard everything, I won't hide it from you. How you has long stopped loving you. The person he loves is me. If it weren't for the fact that you are the daughter of the Shin Group, he wouldn't have married you in the first place. The Shin Group is the business my parents left me when I married Eric. He was just a relatively unknown department manager. It was me who directed Shin's resources towards the Lin Group, allowing him to climb step by step to the position of vice president. So, it turns out he married me not out of love, but because of my family background, because of Shin's resources. Now that he's made it, he wants to kick me aside, even to the point of taking my life. So, you want me dead so you can seize Shin's assets and live happily ever after with her? I asked Eric. Enunciating each word, Eric's face completely darkened, and he no longer bothered to pretend, the ruthlessness in his eyes completely exposed. Evelyn, now that things have come to this, I won't waste any more words with you. Your existence is an obstacle to both me and Manli. As long as you're dead, Shin's will be mine, and Manli can marry me legitimately. Just consider it, a small sacrifice for our happiness. Sacrifice, I trembled with anger, pointing my finger at his nose. Eric, you ungrateful beast. My parents trusted you so much back then, handing over the resources of the Shin Corporation to you, and I loved you so much, giving up everything to cook for you, and this is how you treat me. Love, Eric sneered. Evelyn, don't talk to me about love. What's that worth? If it weren't for your money and power, do you think I would have spent 3 years with a boring woman like you? His words were like sharp knives, stabbing into my heart, but I didn't break down and cry as he had expected. Instead, the fear in my heart was gradually replaced by anger, and a strong flame of revenge began to burn in my chest. I can't just let it go. I can't let him and Melissa get away with this scum-like behavior. I will make them pay for what they have done. Just then, footsteps came from the end of the corridor, and a person in a waiter's uniform walked over carrying a tray, on which sat a glass of red wine, the liquid in the glass a vibrant red, reflecting an eerie light in the lamplight. It was obvious without even thinking that it was the spiked red wine that Eric had mentioned. The waiter walked up to Eric and respectfully said, "Mr. Lin, the red wine you asked me to prepare. I've brought it to Evelyn." Eric glanced at the glass of red wine, then looked at me, a hint of triumph flashing in his eyes. "Wonwan, see, I didn't lie to you, did I? This is indeed specially prepared for you. Drink it, and we'll consider ourselves married once. A good beginning and a good ending." As he said that, he reached for the glass of red wine, intending to hand it to me. I took a deep breath and forced myself to calm down. Now is not the time for a head-on collision. I need to stabilize him first, and then find a chance to fight back. I took a step back, avoiding the wine glass he offered, and deliberately put on a frightened and desperate expression. "Eric, are you really going to treat me like this? Are our 3 years of marriage worth so little?" Eric thought I was scared and became even more arrogant. "Affection, in the face of profit, affection is worthless. Evelyn, stop struggling. You have to drink this glass of wine today, whether you want to or not." Melissa was also adding fuel to the fire from the side. "Exactly, Evelyn, if you know what's good for you, drink it yourself, so you don't have to make how you do it. Otherwise it won't look good on anyone." I watched them singing in harmony, and sneered inwardly. "Make a move, perfect. I'd like to see who makes the first move and who ends up regretting it." I pretended to hesitate for a moment, then slowly raised my hand, as if to take the glass of red wine. Eric and Melissa both wore smug smiles, thinking I had resigned myself to my fate. Just as my hand was about to touch the glass, I suddenly recoiled, and at the same time, I quickly pulled my phone out of my pocket. I had already quietly taken the phone out when the powder compact fell on the ground, and pressed the record button. "Now, I'm going to dial that number I've known by heart for a long time." Eric's face changed instantly when he saw that I didn't take the wine glass but instead took out my phone. "Evelyn, What do you want to do? He reached out to grab my phone, and Melissa also rushed over, trying to stop me. I took 2 steps back, dodging their attempts to grab me, and quickly tapped a few numbers on the phone screen, then held the phone to my ear. The phone connected quickly, and a steady male voice came from the other end. Evelyn, what's the situation on your end? Detective, I'm in the 2nd floor corridor of the Park Hyatt Hotel. Eric is trying to poison my wine and kill me. I shouted into the phone, my voice filled with just the right amount of fear and urgency. You have to come quickly. He's about to force me to drink. Eric's face turned deathly pale the moment he heard the word detective. He rushed over, trying to snatch my phone. Evelyn, are you crazy? You actually called the police. Melissa panicked, grabbing Eric's arm, her voice trembling. Brother, what do we do? The police are coming to arrest us. Let's run. Run. Where are you going to run? I looked at their panicked expressions, a strong sense of satisfaction welling up inside me. Eric, Melissa, did you think your scheme would succeed? I suspected something was up with you a long time ago, so I contacted Detective a while back, just waiting for you to reveal your true colors. Actually, I only overheard their conversation just now and made the spur-of-the-moment decision to call Detective. Detective was a former subordinate of my father's and has always taken good care of me. I had mentioned to him before that Eric's behavior had been a bit strange lately, and he told me to contact him anytime if anything came up. Unexpectedly, this call became the key to my counterattack. Eric, seeing that I wouldn't hang up, got so angry that his eyes turned red. He pushed Melissa away and lunged at me. Evelyn, you bitch. I'm going to make you drink this glass of wine today. I was prepared and dodged to the side, while shouting into the phone, Detective, they're making a move, come quickly. I'm on the 2nd floor, near the emergency exit. Just then, the piercing sound of sirens suddenly came from downstairs, and the sound was getting closer and closer. Obviously the police had arrived downstairs at the hotel. Eric froze instantly, his face pale as he looked downstairs, then at me, his eyes filled with despair and resentment. Melissa's legs went weak with fear, and she collapsed onto the ground, crying, Brother, the police are here, we're done for. I looked at their disheveled appearance and felt no sympathy. They deserved it. Soon, hurried footsteps echoed from the end of the corridor, and several police officers in uniform ran over, led by Detective. The detective saw me, first sighed in relief, then looked at Eric, his face darkening. Eric, you are suspected of attempted murder. Come with us. The police officer next to him immediately stepped forward and, with a click, handcuffed Eric's wrists. Eric struggled and shouted at Detective, Detective, don't listen to her nonsense. Evelyn is framing me. I didn't want to hurt her. That glass of wine was just ordinary red wine. Whether it's ordinary red wine or not, we'll know once we test it, Detective Lung said coldly, then signaled the police to take Eric away. And you, Melissa, you are suspected of being an accomplice. Come with us too. Melissa was so frightened that she burst into tears, trying to struggle, but the police officers grabbed her. Just as they were being taken away, the banquet hall downstairs was already in chaos, with many guests running out and looking at Eric being escorted by the police, whispering amongst themselves, Isn't that Vice President Lin? Why is he being arrested by the police? The police sirens were so loud just now. Did something big happen? I think I saw Evelyn on the 2nd floor just now. Could it be related to Evelyn? As Eric was escorted through the hall by the police, he saw the people who used to fawn over him now looking at him with strange eyes. His face flushed red, and his head was lowered, no longer with the high spirits he usually displayed, and I stood on the 2nd floor corridor, watching him being escorted into the police car, finally feeling a sense of relief. The first step, successful. But this is not enough. Eric and Melissa have been plotting against me for more than a day or two. They must have done other bad things, such as transferring Shin's assets. Next, what I have to do is to find out their evidence of crimes, so that they will be completely discredited and pay a more painful price. I bent down to pick up the shattered powder compact from the floor, looking at the scattered powder inside, just like looking at my once broken love. But now, I am no longer the naive woman who only knows how to depend on men. From the moment Eric said, if she drinks that glass of wine, she won't have to wake up again, The old Evelyn was already dead. The one alive now is Evelyn, who seeks revenge. I turned and walked towards the elevator, my steps firm. For the road ahead, I will take each step steadily and surely, taking back everything that belongs to me. The wail of sirens still echoed outside the hotel. And the air in the second-floor corridor still carried the scent of Melissa's perfume from her fright. The knuckles of my fingers, which had been gripping my phone, finally relaxed a little. The screen was still on the call interface with Detective. That phone call, from dialing to hearing the sirens downstairs, lasted exactly 3 minutes and 7 seconds. I didn't go downstairs immediately, but leaned against the marble railing of the corridor, looking down. The hall was already in utter chaos. The light from the crystal lamps glinted on the faces of the guests. Women in evening gowns were screaming with their mouths covered. Men in suits were taking photos with their phones, and several old shareholders of the Lin Group were in front of the crowd with livid faces, staring at the police detaining Eric. Eric was still struggling, the handcuffs chafing his wrists red, but he ignored it, shouting at the people around him, "Don't believe Evelyn. She framed me. There was nothing in that drink. She deliberately called the police to set me up." He shouted himself hoarse, but few people believed him. When the waiter brought over that glass of red wine just now, many people saw it. Eric's gaze fixed on that glass wasn't the look of someone looking at a gift for his wife, but that of someone looking at prey. Melissa was held up by 2 policewomen, her hair disheveled, the straps of her red dress slipping down her arms. Sobbing uncontrollably, I don't know anything. Eric forced me. He said if I didn't help him, he would fire me and make it impossible for me to stay in this city." As soon as these words came out, there was another round of discussion in the crowd. Who doesn't know that Melissa and Eric are close? At last month's Lin's team building event, she was showing off the limited edition bag Eric bought her in front of her female colleagues, saying, "Brother How You loves me the most." Now that something has happened, she's passing the buck, which is too ugly. I held onto the railing, slowly walking down the stairs. Each step landed silently on the carpet. Yet the surrounding chatter gradually subsided, and all eyes were on me. Several old employees of the Shin family, who were brought up by my parents back then, had tears in their eyes when they saw me. One of them, called Uncle, walked over quickly, his voice trembling. "Miss WN, are you all right? I just heard that Eric, that beast, was going to do something to you." "I'm fine, Uncle." I patted his arm, my voice steadier than I expected. Fortunately, Detective arrived quickly and didn't let him succeed. The detective happened to walk over, holding an evidence bag containing the untouched glass of red wine. He handed the evidence bag to the police officer next to him, then nodded to me. "Evelyn, we will send this glass of wine for testing immediately, if there's really a problem. Eric's crime will be confirmed. Sorry for the trouble, Detective." I bowed to him, then turned to look at Eric, who was still protesting his innocence. Eric's eyes were bloodshot when he saw me. He tried to rush over like a madman, but the police held him down firmly. "Evelyn, you viper. We've been married for 3 years, and you're doing this to me. Aren't you afraid of retribution, husband and wife?" I walked up to him, stopped, my voice not loud, but enough for everyone around to hear. "Eric, when you and Melissa were behind the second-floor fire door, saying, 'Once she drinks that glass of wine, she won't wake up again,' did you not remember that we are husband and wife?" This was like a slap in the face for Eric. His face went white instantly, his lips trembled, and he couldn't speak. The people around them erupted in chatter. My God, he actually wanted to kill Evelyn. No wonder the alarm was so urgent just now. This is murder, and I thought Eric was a good man before. So good to Evelyn. It was all an act. A shareholder of the Lin family, surnamed Wang, who usually kept close ties with Eric, was also frowning at this moment, and asked Eric in a cold voice, "Eric, is what Evelyn said true? Are you really going to harm her?" Eric still tried to argue at this point. "President Wang, don't listen to her nonsense. She's making it up on purpose. How could I possibly harm her?" You don't need to explain anything to me," President Wang interrupted him, his face very unpleasant. "If the test results show that there's really something wrong with that glass of wine, Lin Corporation will never protect scum like you." These words extinguished the last bit of hope for Eric. He stared at President Wang, then looked at the disdainful gazes around him, finally deflated, hung his head, and stopped struggling. Seeing Eric stop talking, Melissa cried even harder. "Officer, I was really forced. I'm just a secretary. Eric is my boss. I don't dare not listen to him. Please let me go. I won't dare to do it again." Looking at her like this, I sneered inwardly. She certainly didn't say that back on the second floor. She and Eric were clearly hoping I would die, hoping that after I died, she could move in and become Mrs. Lin. Now, how convenient that she's absolving herself of all responsibility. "Melissa," I said, my voice cold, "just now on the second floor, you said to Eric, 'Brother, how you, when she dies, Shins will be yours. And I can rightfully marry you.' Did Eric force you to say that too?" Melissa's crying stopped instantly. She looked up, her eyes wide, staring at me as if she couldn't believe I had heard what she said. How could you hear that?" Her voice trembled. "I not only heard it," I said, pulling out my phone from my pocket and pressing play. Immediately, her conversation with Eric began to play from the phone. "Brother, how you, are you sure that thing is really okay? What if someone finds out? What's there to be afraid of? I had someone bring it back from overseas. It's colorless and odorless. Once she's dead, the Shin Corporation will be yours, and I can rightfully marry you." The recording wasn't loud, but the hall was quiet enough for everyone to hear clearly. The murmuring in the crowd grew louder, and some people were pointing at Melissa, so she was an accomplice too, and she was trying to play the victim. What a pair of adulterers, they would kill for money and status. Evelyn is so pitiful, marrying such a husband and having such an ungrateful secretary by her side. Melissa's face went from white to green, then from green to red, and finally she collapsed on the ground, unable to cry anymore. She knew that it was completely over. And it was no use trying to pass the buck. Detective looked at Melissa, then at Eric, and said to the police officer beside him, "Take them both to the police car and bring them back to the station to take statements." The police officer nodded and escorted Eric and Melissa out the door. As Eric was being escorted past me, he suddenly stopped and glared at me with a venomous look. "Evelyn, you just wait. I won't let this go. My dad won't let you get away with this." He was talking about Henry, the chairman of the Lin Group. "Henry used to be nice to me, always saying, 'Wanwan is a good girl, how you must treat you well.' But now that Eric is in this kind of trouble, who do you think he'll help? It's obvious." I looked at Eric's back, and my heart was calm. Even if Henry wanted to make trouble for me, I wouldn't be afraid. I have the recording, the potentially poisonous glass of red wine, and the financial evidence I still need to find. Eric can't turn the tables. The guests were still talking amongst themselves, and a few of the ladies who were close to me came over to comfort me. "Wanwan, don't be too sad. This kind of man isn't worth it. Yeah, luckily you're okay. If something really happened, we'd all be worried sick. If you need any help in the future, just say so. We'll definitely help you." I smiled at them and said thank you. Actually, I'm not sad at all, but feel relieved. It's a good thing to get rid of these two parasites from my life. At this moment, the hotel manager rushed over and said apologetically, "Evelyn, I'm really sorry. What happened tonight has wronged you and affected the mood of all the guests. Our hotel will take full responsibility. Tonight's consumption will be free of charge. And we will also give you and all the guests a gift as compensation." "No need for compensation." I shook my head. "Please save the surveillance footage from the second floor corridor and the lobby tonight. Detective might come to retrieve it." Okay, we've saved it. Definitely won't lose it." The manager nodded quickly. I also said a few words to the old shareholders and Shin's employees, telling them not to worry, Shin's will not have problems because of Eric's matter, and then I planned to leave the hotel. As I walked to the door, I looked back. The guests in the hall hadn't left yet. Some were talking to the police to understand the situation, some were whispering. The light from the crystal chandelier was still dazzling, but everything here was different from before. Eric and Melissa were escorted into the police car, and the sound of the siren gradually faded away. I stood on the steps at the entrance of the hotel, and a gust of evening wind gently swayed the hem of my dress. A 3-minute counterattack, though not long, completely shattered my 3-year fake marriage and exposed Eric's true colors to everyone. But this is just the beginning. I know Eric won't be captured so easily. And Henry won't sit idly by. Besides, Eric has been with the Shin and Lin families for so long, he must have a lot of benefits in his hands, and maybe he has already secretly transferred Shin's assets. Next, what I need to do is investigate these matters thoroughly, take back what belongs to the Shin family, and make Eric and Melissa, along with everyone who helped them, pay the price they deserve. I took out my phone and called the CFO of Shin Corporation. Michael, tomorrow at 8:00 a.m., I want all the financial statements of Shin Corporation from the last 3 years, as well as all project contracts handled by Eric. Organize them and send them to my office. Michael on the other end of the phone was stunned for a moment, then immediately agreed. Okay. Miss Wan, I will work overtime to organize it tonight and guarantee to deliver it to you on time tomorrow. After hanging up the phone, I got into the car. The driver asked me, Ms. Wan. Back to the old house or to the apartment you share with Mr. Lin? Back to the old house. I leaned back in the chair and closed my eyes. I won't be going back to that apartment anymore. That apartment is full of memories of me and Eric. It used to feel sweet, but now it just feels disgusting. The car started slowly, and the streetlights outside the window receded one by one. I opened my eyes, watching the night scene outside the window, feeling very calm inside. The Evelyn of the past is already dead in the second-floor corridor of the Platinum Grand Hotel. Now, I live only for myself and the Shin family. The road to revenge is long, but I will walk it step by step, steadily and ruthlessly, until I take back everything that is owed to me. On the way back to the old house, I had the driver take a detour to the print shop to pick up 2 things. One was a transcribed version of the phone recording, and the other was a summary of the financial statements that Michael had emailed me overnight. The black and white pages were filled with dense numbers and words, all ironclad evidence of Eric's betrayal. The old house's servants had already received the news. Seeing me return, they quickly offered hot soup. Miss, you haven't eaten properly all day. Have some soup to warm your stomach. I took the bowl and drank a few mouthfuls. The chill in my stomach dissipated a little. And then I took my things upstairs, locking myself in the study. The study was my dad's old one, and his entrepreneurial photos are still displayed on the bookshelf. I stared at my dad's smile in the photo, my fingers gently brushing the edge of the frame. Dad, don't worry. I won't let your life's work be ruined by people like Eric. The next morning at 7:30 a.m., I left for the police station on time. As soon as I arrived at the entrance, I saw a detective waiting for me. The detective came up, his face more serious than yesterday. Evelyn, Eric is being very stubborn in there, insisting that you framed him, and also saying that you put the substance in the glass of red wine yourself, trying to frame him. Melissa has also retracted her confession, saying that what she said before was forced by you. I knew they would do this. I took out the transcript of the recording and the financial summary from my bag and handed it to detective. This is the conversation I recorded at the hotel yesterday. The transcript highlights the key points, and it includes Shin's financial situation for the past 3 years. Eric's tricks are all in there. The detective took the file, quickly flipped through a few pages, and frowned more and more deeply. You prepared all of this a long time ago, not early. I leaned against the hallway wall, watching the passing officers. I felt something was wrong 6 months ago. Eric was always transferring Shin's funds out under the guise of expanding business. I had Michael investigate secretly, and I didn't expect to find so many problems. Yesterday, I overheard him plotting to kill me in the hotel, and I realized that these financial issues weren't expanding businesses at all, but rather him secretly transferring assets. The detective nodded, collected the files, and said, "Let's go to the interrogation room and let him see these things for himself." The interrogation room was dark, with only a table and 2 chairs. Eric sat across the table, his hair disheveled and dark circles under his eyes, but when he saw me, he put on an arrogant look. "Evelyn, what are you here for again? Want to continue framing me? I'm telling you, without evidence. The police won't convict me." Evidence. I placed the recording pen on the table and pressed play. His conversation with Melissa in the hotel corridor played again. I had someone bring it back from overseas, colorless and odorless. "Once she's dead, Shin's will be yours." Eric's face turned pale instantly. He reached out to grab the recording pen, but the police officer next to him held him down. "What are you doing? This recording is fake. You synthesized it, whether it's synthesized or not." The police can tell with an appraisal. I ignored his excuses and pushed the financial summary in front of him, pointing to a line of numbers on it. "Look here, last March, you transferred 5 million from Shin's under the guise of cooperation with overseas companies. But Michael checked all the overseas partners and there's no such company. This money was eventually transferred to a hidden account under Melissa's name." "Right." Eric's fingers gripped the tablecloth tightly, his knuckles turning white, but he stubbornly insisted, "I don't know what you're talking about. That money was a normal business expense. Melissa was just helping with the accounting, running accounts." I sneered and turned to another page. "Then last August, you transferred 3 million from Shin's road fund to a relative's account in your hometown, and immediately used that money to buy a school district property under your mother's name. Is that also running accounts? And in January of this year, you transferred 2 million from Lynn's under the guise of employee benefits, but you actually used it all to buy luxury goods for Melissa. The Hermes bag she carried last month, and the Cartier bracelet on her wrist, were all bought with this money. I have the spending records for all of this. Would you like me to get them out for you to see?" With each thing said, Eric's face paled a little more. In the end, he couldn't hold on any longer. His head dropped onto the table, his shoulders shaking uncontrollably. The detective spoke up from the side, his voice deep. "Eric, we've already verified some of the evidence Evelyn provided. The 5 million was indeed transferred to Melissa's account, and the school district house was indeed bought with Shin's money. Now that the evidence is conclusive, what do you have to say?" Eric suddenly raised his head, his eyes bloodshot, and shouted at me, "Evelyn, why are you pushing me to the brink? We were husband and wife. Can't you leave me a way out?" "A way out?" I looked at him, without a ripple in my heart. "When you were in the hotel hallway, telling Melissa that she wouldn't have to wake up again after drinking that glass of wine, why didn't you think about leaving me a way out? When you were secretly transferring Shin's assets, trying to empty my parents' lifelong efforts, why didn't you think about leaving me a way out? Eric, you chose your fate today." Just then, the door to the interrogation room was pushed open, and a police officer came in and said a few words in Detective's ear. Detective nodded and then said to us, "The wine test results are out, and it contains a high concentration of barbiturates. An overdose can lead to respiratory depression and death. Also, Melissa couldn't hold out and has confessed everything, saying that you planned everything and she just helped." This sentence was like the last straw, completely crushing Eric. He slumped in his chair, his eyes vacant, muttering to himself, "It's over, it's all over." The detective stood up and said to the police officer, "Take him away and prepare to request an arrest warrant." The police officer stepped forward and hauled Eric up. As Eric was being led past me, he suddenly stopped and said in a hoarse voice, "Wonwan, I know I was wrong. Can you please help me beg for mercy? I don't want to go to jail." Looking at his pathetic state, I felt only disgust. "Eric, when you wanted to kill me, why didn't you think about today? It's too late to say all this now." After Eric was taken away, the detective handed me a glass of water. "Evelyn, thank you for your hard work. Now the chain of evidence is basically complete. Eric cannot escape the crimes of attempted murder and embezzlement. Thank you, detective." I took the water glass and took a sip. However, I think things may not be that simple. Eric transferred more assets than just these. And he was able to obtain so many Shin Corporation permissions. There may be someone helping him behind the scenes. The detective nodded. "We will continue to investigate and will let you know as soon as we have any news. By the way, Eric's father came by earlier and is waiting outside to see you. Would you like to meet him?" I was stunned for a moment, then shook my head. "I won't see him. He's only here to ask me to drop the case, or to let Eric go, and I can't do either of those things." The detective smiled understandingly. "Okay, I'll help you get rid of him then." I walked out of the interrogation room and saw Henry standing at the bottom of the steps as soon as I got to the police station entrance. He was wearing an expensive suit, and his hair was meticulously combed. But his face looked terrible. When he saw me, he immediately walked over, his tone a bit commanding. "Evelyn, come with me. I have something to say to you." I didn't move, just looked at him coldly. Mr. Lin. If you have something to say, just say it here. I have things to do. Henry's face darkened even more. Evelyn, don't push your luck. Hao-yu is my only son. Now that you've gotten him into prison, what are you trying to do? I'm telling you, as long as you drop the charges, I can let you continue to be Mrs. Lin. And I can also give you a sum of money. Don't be ungrateful, Mrs. Lin. I found it ridiculous. Mr. Lin, your son wants to kill me and drain the assets of the Shin Corporation. And now you're telling me to be Mrs. Lin. Do you think I would want a position stained with conspiracy and blood? Also, you said you'd give me money. That money originally belonged to the Shin family. It was your son who secretly transferred it. Now it should be returned to the Shin family, not used to bribe me. Henry was speechless at my words, so angry that his hands were shaking. Evelyn, don't you regret it? You know the connections the Lin family has in this city. If you insist on going against the Lin family, you won't have a good time. Whether I regret it or not is none of your business. I turned to leave, then stopped, looking back at him. But you should really keep an eye on your son, and don't let him harm people again. Also, I advise you not to try to use your connections to suppress me. The detective has all of Eric's evidence of crimes. Even if you have extensive connections, you can't protect a murderer and a corrupt official. Having said that, I didn't look at Henry's pale face again, and got straight into the car. As the car pulled away, I saw Henry still standing there in the rearview mirror, his face incredibly grim. I knew he wouldn't let it go and would definitely find a way to get back at me. But I wasn't afraid. I had the evidence, detectives' help, and the support of the veteran employees of Shin's. He wouldn't be able to turn the tables. When I returned to the Shin Corporation, Michael had already organized all the financial statements and contracts, placing them in my office. I sat behind my desk, flipping through the documents, looking at the dense numbers and Eric's signature, feeling very calm. These files are all evidence of Eric's betrayal, and also the weapon I will use to completely crush him. The truth has been partially revealed, and Eric's disguise has completely collapsed. But I know this is not enough. There are still more assets to recover, and more secrets to uncover. For example, is there someone behind Melissa? Besides Melissa and his family, did Eric transfer those assets to other places? I need to investigate all of this thoroughly. I picked up the phone and called Michael. Michael, please check all of Melissa's bank accounts for me again, as well as her spending records for the past few years. The more detailed the better. Also, re-audit all the overseas projects Eric handled at Shin's, and see if there are any other problems. Okay, Miss Wan, I'll check it right away. After hanging up the phone, I looked at the tall buildings outside the window, the sunlight shining on the glass, reflecting a blinding light. I've already taken 2 steps on the road to revenge. With each step I take from here on out, I will be more steady and more ruthless, until I take back everything that is owed to me, until I make Eric and everyone who helped him pay the price they should. Leaving the Shin Corporation, I went directly to the financial company Michael mentioned. They helped me find Melissa's hidden account transactions. Pushing open the door of the financial company, Michael was already inside waiting for me, holding a thick stack of documents in his hand. His face even more solemn than it was in the morning. Miss Wan, take a look at this. Michael handed me the file, his finger pointing to a transfer record on one of the pages. Besides the account that received 5 million, Melissa has 3 other hidden accounts, for the past 3 years. A fixed amount of money has been deposited into each account every month, all from the same source, Victor of the Lin Group. Victor, I was taken aback. The name sounded familiar. It was the shareholder who, at the hotel dinner last time, frowned and asked Eric, "Are you really going to hurt Evelyn?" At the time, I thought he was a reasonable person. I didn't expect him to be involved with Melissa. Michael nodded and turned to another page, which showed a screenshot of chat logs. We also obtained the WeChat chat records of Melissa and Victor. Look at this section, Melissa said. What if Evelyn finds out about brother Hao-yu transferring Shin's assets? Victor replied, "Don't worry, I'm here. I will help you cover it up. Once Evelyn is dead, I'll get a piece of Shin's projects too." My fingers holding the document tightened, my knuckles turning white. So Eric's scheme wasn't just him alone. Victor was helping behind the scenes. They not only wanted to kill me but also wanted to divide up the Shin family's assets. What a great plan they have. There's more outrageous stuff. Michael produced another spending record. Melissa bought an apartment downtown last year, full price, and Victor transferred the money to her directly. Moreover, the address of this apartment is in the same complex as the love nest that Eric secretly rented, just 3 buildings apart. I looked at the address on the spending record and sneered inwardly. No wonder Melissa dared to be so arrogant. It turns out she had Victor as her backer and Eric as her lover. She thought that with these two protecting her, she could escape unscathed even if the truth came out. Unfortunately, she was wrong. Michael, make a copy of all this evidence. I need to take it to the detention center to see Melissa. I gathered the documents and stood up. Also, check Victor's financial situation again to see if he has used his position to embezzle money from Lynn's or Shin's. The more detailed, the better. Okay, Miss WN, I'll give you the results today. At 2 in the afternoon, I arrived at the detention center on time. Detective had already given the heads up, and the police officer took me directly to the visiting room. Melissa was wearing the detention center's grey vest. Her hair was messily tied up, and she had no makeup on her face. She looked a lot more haggard than before, but there was still a hint of in her eyes. She saw me, paused for a moment, then wore a disdainful expression. Evelyn, what are you doing here again? Here to laugh at me. I'm telling you, even if I'm locked up here, Victor will get me out. He has connections in the Lynn family and in the city. You can't beat him. Sure enough, the moment she opened her mouth, she mentioned Victor. It seems she's pinning all her hopes on him. I sat across from her, placed the file on the table, and pushed it in front of her. Victor, are you talking about the Victor who gives you money every month, helps you buy apartments, and helps Eric transfer Shin's assets? Melissa's smile froze instantly on her face. She stared at the documents on the table, her eyes filled with fear. How did you get these? This is fake. You forged them. Whether it's fake or not, see for yourself. I pulled out the screenshots of the transfer records and chat logs and put them in front of her. These are your WeChat chat logs with Victor, with clear times and content. This is the bank statement stamped by the bank for Victor's money transfer to you, which cannot be faked, and there's the purchase contract for your apartment, with your signature on it, which Victor also paid for. Melissa's hands began to tremble. She picked up the documents, flipping through them page by page, her face changing from white to green, and then from green to black. When she turned to the page with the chat history, tears suddenly streamed down her face, and she muttered to herself, "Impossible. He clearly said that these records would be deleted. How could he lie to me? He didn't lie to you. He just didn't expect that I would investigate so thoroughly." I leaned back in my chair, watching her crumble, with no sympathy in my heart. Melissa, do you think Victor is really helping you? He's after the Shin family's assets. For the money, once you're no longer useful, he'll be the first to push you out as a scapegoat. Melissa suddenly raised her head, her eyes red. Impossible. Victor said he liked me and would marry me. He wouldn't lie to me. Like you, marry you. I found it laughable. He's almost 50, with a wife and children. How could he possibly marry you? He's just using you as a pawn, exploiting your relationship with Eric to help him make money. Look at these chat logs. He says to you, "When Evelyn dies, I'll get a piece of the Shin Corporation's project," without even mentioning you. In his eyes, you're just a tool. Melissa stared at the chat history, tears falling more and more, her body beginning to tremble. She finally realized that she had been someone else's pawn from beginning to end. And Victor wasn't genuinely helping her at all, but just using her. Also, do you think retracting your confession will make everything all right? I took out another document. A copy of the wine test report. The police have traced the barbiturates in that glass of wine to their source. Eric had someone buy them from abroad, and the middleman has already identified him. Even if you retract your confession, you can't wash away the fact that you were involved. Melissa's psychological defenses completely collapsed. She collapsed on the table and wailed, "I didn't do it on purpose. Eric forced me. Victor asked me to help Eric. I don't want to go to jail, Evelyn. I beg you, please let me go. I would never dare to do it again." I watched her crying, gasping for breath, and said in a cold voice, let you out. When you and Eric wanted to kill me, why didn't you think about giving me a way out when you helped them transfer Shin's assets? Why didn't you think about my parents' life's work? Melissa looked up, her face covered in tears and snot, a picture of utter disarray. I know I was wrong. I'm willing to testify against Eric and Victor. I'm willing to tell the police everything they did. Evelyn, if you just help me get a lighter sentence, I'll say anything. Whether you speak or not, it won't change the fact that you've committed a crime. I stood up and straightened my clothes. However, if you can really provide evidence of Eric and Victor's crimes, the police might consider giving you a lighter sentence. As for me, I won't help you, nor will I harm you. It's all up to you. Having said that, I turned to leave. Melissa suddenly grabbed my wrist, her voice trembling. Evelyn, I have something else to tell you. Henry actually knew about Eric transferring assets. Not only did he know, but he also helped Eric cover it up. Last time Eric transferred $3 million from Shin's to buy a school district house. It was Henry who came up with the idea. I turned my head sharply, staring at Melissa. Are you serious? Henry was involved too. Melissa nodded, tears still falling. It's true. Once I went to Eric's house and heard him arguing with Henry. Henry said, you can transfer assets, but don't let Evelyn find out. Once the Shin group completely becomes the Lin family's, you can do whatever you want. I also heard Henry say that if Evelyn found out, they would find a way to make her die in an accident. But Eric got impatient and acted first. I stood there, my heart a tumultuous sea. So, Henry was the biggest mastermind behind it all. He not only knew about Eric's conspiracy, but also fueled it from behind the scenes, and even wanted to kill me long ago. No wonder Henry was so arrogant at the police station last time, saying the Lin family has connections in the city. It turns out he had planned everything in advance. Do you dare say these words to the police? I looked at Melissa with a sharp gaze. Melissa nodded quickly. I dare. I'll tell the police right now. As long as it reduces my sentence, I'll say anything. I didn't say anything more, turned around and walked out of the interview room, and told Detective what Melissa said. The detective finished listening, his expression grave. I didn't expect Henry to be involved too. It seems this matter is more complicated than we thought. Let's go and question Melissa right away and have her explain everything she knows. Also, immediately investigate the financial situations of Henry and Victor. We can't let them escape. I nodded, the anger in my heart growing stronger. Eric, Melissa, Victor, Henry, these people all want to harm me. Want to divide up the Shin family's assets. They think that with numbers on their side, they can trample me underfoot, but they were wrong. I won't let them get away with it. After getting out of the detention center, Michael called me and said he had found out about Victor's financial problems. He used his position to embezzle nearly $20 million from the Lin and Shin collaboration project, and also helped Eric transfer a lot of assets. I hung up the phone, got into the car, and looked at the traffic outside the window. Melissa's behind-the-scenes dealings have been exposed, and Victor and Henry have also been caught red-handed. Next, it's time to close the net. I took out my phone and called the public relations manager of Shin's group. Grace, isn't Lin's holding an anniversary gala next Saturday? Help me prepare an invitation. I want to attend this gala as the chairman of Shin's group. The Lin family's anniversary gala invites many celebrities and entrepreneurs every year and is a place for them to show off their strength. Last year I attended as Eric's wife, but this year I will go as the chairman of the Shin Corporation to turn their celebration banquet upside down. Grace was taken aback for a moment, then immediately agreed. Okay, Miss Wan, I'll go and prepare right away. I hung up the phone and leaned back in my chair, closing my eyes. Melissa thought she could get away unscathed with Victor backing her, but I dug up all her dirty secrets. Victor thought he could get a piece of the pie by helping Eric, but his own financial problems were also exposed. Henry thought he could control everything, but Melissa also implicated him. This counterhunt has only just begun. At the Lin Corporation anniversary gala next Saturday, I will let them all know just how miserable the consequences will be for betraying me and trying to kill me. The Lin family's anniversary gala was set for the penthouse ballroom of the Grand Hyatt Hotel, the same hotel where I last stumbled upon Eric's conspiracy. How ironic, On the afternoon of the gala, I went to the dress shop early. The dress I wore last time, dirted by the dust in the hotel hallway, had long been thrown away. This time, I chose a black velvet gown, with small diamonds around the neckline and a slit up to the knee. It moved with a breeze when I walked, exuding presence while also hinting at a funeral chill. The makeup artist gave me a cool-toned look, with sharp eyeliner and bright red lipstick. The person in the mirror no longer had any of the softness of the past, only an irrepressible edge. At 7 o'clock in the evening, I arrived at the Grand Hyatt Hotel on time. The waiter at the door paused for a moment before coming forward to open the door. Before, when I came here, I was always behind Eric, wearing gentle, light-colored dresses. Now, I was alone, in a black dress, and even my aura had changed. The penthouse ballroom was already lively, the chandeliers were brighter than last time, the carpet had been changed to burgundy, and the Lin family logo and a happy anniversary banner hung on the wall. Henry, wearing a custom-made suit, was holding a wine glass and chatting with several entrepreneurs, while Victor stood beside him, nodding in agreement from time to time. Both of them were smiling. As if Eric's arrest and Melissa's retraction of her confession had never happened, they probably thought that as long as they suppressed the news and used the Lin family's connections to smooth things over, they could continue to mingle in this high society, and even wait for the storm to pass before completely swallowing up the Shin Corporation. Unfortunately, they miscalculated one thing. They miscalculated that I wouldn't let it go. I had just walked into the banquet hall when everyone's eyes converged on me. The once noisy hall quieted down a lot in an instant. Some people's hands holding wine glasses froze in mid-air, some whispered to the people next to them. And a few ladies who had seen me last time covered their mouths in surprise. Henry and Victor also saw me. The smile on Henry's face instantly froze, and the hand holding his wine glass trembled slightly, almost spilling the red wine. Victor's face paled a little, and he subconsciously took half a step back, but quickly steadied himself and pretended to be calm. I ignored them and walked straight towards the high platform in the center of the banquet hall. It was originally where Henry was going to give a speech, but now it has become my stage for revenge. As I passed the guest seating, someone tugged at my arm. It was Shin's uncle. He lowered his voice and said, "Miss WN, they've arranged bodyguards in the back, be careful." I nodded to him and took out a miniature remote control from my bag. This was prepared by the technical department and can directly control the projection and audio of the banquet hall. Walking onto the high platform, I pressed the first button on the remote control. The large screen, which was originally playing the Lin Corporation promotional video, suddenly went black, followed by a line of large white characters. Public announcement of criminal evidence of Lin Corporation and related personnel. The entire venue instantly erupted. What's going on? What happened to the screen? Isn't that Evelyn? How did she get up there? Public display of criminal evidence. What crime did the Lin family commit? Henry was livid, his face ashen, and he pointed at me, shouting, "Evelyn, are you crazy? Turn off the screen now. Security. Where's security? Get her out of here." Several bodyguards in black suits rushed in from the back door of the banquet hall, running towards the platform. But they had barely taken 2 steps when they were stopped by a group of people in police uniforms. Detective had arrived with his officers. The detective walked to the base of the platform and flashed his badge to all the guests. "Everyone, we are from the Municipal Public Security Bureau. We are here today to investigate the Lin Group for suspected embezzlement and attempted intentional homicide. Please cooperate with us." The guests were completely panicked. Some people stood up to leave, but were stopped by the police officers. "Sorry, before the case is thoroughly investigated, please do not leave for the time being." Henry, looking at the sudden appearance of the police, felt his legs go weak and almost fell, but luckily Victor next to him supported him. He pointed at Detective and said with a trembling voice, "Detective, what do you mean by this? The Lin family has no grievances with you. Why are you helping this woman?" "Evelyn, to frame us, frame me." I picked up the microphone from the high platform, and my voice spread throughout the banquet hall through the speakers. "Mr. Lin, last month in your study, you said to Eric, 'Don't let Evelyn find out about the transfer of assets.' Once the Shin family becomes the Lin family, you can do whatever you want. Are you saying I framed you for saying these words? And you, Victor?" I turned the microphone to Victor. As the screen simultaneously displayed his bank statements and chat history. "You transfer 100,000 yuan to Melissa every month, help her buy an apartment, and help Eric transfer 20 million yuan from the Shin Corporation. Are these bank statements and WeChat chat records also part of my frame-up?" The evidence on the screen flipped page after page. There was a transcript of a phone call recording between Henry and Eric, bank-stamped proof of Victor's transfer to Melissa, a project contract for Eric's transfer of Shin's assets, and a video clip of Melissa identifying Henry and Victor. Each page of evidence was clear and concise, marked with the time, place, and relevant personnel, leaving no room for sophistry. Victor stared at the evidence on the screen, sweat beading on his forehead, his hands clenched into tight fists, his nails almost digging into his flesh. He wanted to defend himself, but when he opened his mouth, he couldn't utter a single word. The evidence was too solid. So solid that he had no room to make excuses. Henry's face turned paler and paler. He suddenly pushed Victor away from him, rushed down from the platform, pointed at me and shouted, "Evelyn, you ungrateful wretch. The Lin family has treated you well. Why do you want to ruin us? Aren't you afraid of being punished by God? Treat me well," I sneered, taking the microphone and stepping down from the platform, walking step by step towards Henry. "Mr. Lin, your son wanted me to drink poisoned wine, to never wake up again. Not only did you know about it, but you also helped him come up with the idea. You call that treating me well? You conspired with Victor to empty my parents' life savings. You call that treating me well? My parents saw how difficult it was for you to start your business back then, so they gave you all of Shin's resources and even let me marry your son, hoping that you could cooperate well, but I never expected you to be so ungrateful and try to completely destroy our Shin family." The more I spoke, the more agitated I became, my voice filled with anger that had been suppressed for too long. "You think that by killing me, you can turn the Shin Corporation into something you can just take. You think that by suppressing the news, you can continue to pretend to be human in this high society. I'm telling you, it's impossible. Shin's is the result of my parents' hard work, and it's my bottom line. Whoever crosses my bottom line, I will destroy everything they have." Henry was rendered speechless by my words. He looked at the disdainful gazes of the surrounding guests, the scrolling evidence on the screen, and the police standing beside him, and finally broke down. He suddenly knelt on the ground with a thud, wrapped his arms around my legs, and said in a trembling voice, "Evelyn, I was wrong. I was really wrong. Please, spare the Lin family. I will return all the transferred assets, and I will make Victor return the money as well. Please. Don't let the police arrest me. I'm old and can't withstand imprisonment." As he spoke, he kowtowed forcefully, and his forehead quickly turned red. The surrounding guests were stunned. Some took out their phones to take pictures, while others whispered. The once high and mighty Chairman Lin was now kneeling on the ground like a dog, begging for mercy. The scene was both comical and gratifying. Victor panicked when he saw Henry kneeling down. He wanted to turn around and run, but was stopped by two police officers. He looked at the evidence on the screen, then at Henry kneeling on the ground, and suddenly his legs went weak as well, and he knelt on the ground, kowtowing to the detective repeatedly. "Detective, I was wrong. I was forced by Henry and Eric. I didn't mean to transfer the assets. Please spare me. I will return all the money, and I can testify to more of their crimes." Two men who once commanded the business world were now kneeling on the ground, humbly begging for mercy, with not a trace of their former glory. I looked at their disheveled state without an ounce of sympathy in my heart. I gently pushed Henry's hand away, took a step back, and said to Detective, "Detective, the evidence is all here. It's up to you how to handle it." The detective nodded and gestured to the officers beside him. "Take them both back and interrogate them thoroughly, making sure to investigate all the issues." The police officer stepped forward and with a click, snapped handcuffs on the wrists of Henry and Victor. Henry was still struggling, crying out, "Evelyn, I beg you, let me go. I'll never do it again." Victor collapsed to the ground, letting the officers support him, muttering to himself, "It's over, it's all over." As they were escorted out of the banquet hall, the guests automatically made way. No one greeted them as they had before, only scornful gazes, like knives, piercing them. The crystal chandeliers in the banquet hall were still lit, but the Lin family logo on the wall and the banner that read "Happy Anniversary" now looked like a joke. I stood in the center of the banquet hall, watching the chaotic crowd, and finally felt a sense of relief. Eric, Melissa, Henry, Victor. Those who wanted to harm me, who wanted to swallow the Shin Corporation, have finally been caught. This gorgeous revenge banquet did not disappoint me, but I know, this is not the end. The Shin family's transferred assets haven't been fully recovered yet. There are still many issues to address with the Lin and Shin families' collaborative projects, and those entrepreneurs who were once friendly with the Lin and Wang families might still be making trouble behind the scenes. I walked onto the platform, picked up the microphone, and said to all the guests, "Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for interrupting your dinner. I am Evelyn, the new chairman of the Shin Group. From today onwards, the Shin Group will comprehensively investigate all cooperation projects with the Lin Group and recover the transferred assets. For those who have helped the Lin and Wang families, I hope you will take the initiative to confess, otherwise, you will bear the consequences when we find the evidence." My voice was steady, yet filled with an undeniable power. The guests quieted down, no one daring to whisper anymore. Having said that, I put down the microphone and turned to leave the banquet hall. Uncle and Michael followed behind me, both with relieved smiles on their faces. As I walked out of the Grand Hyatt Hotel, the evening breeze hit me, and I realized my palms were covered in sweat. I had planned this revenge banquet for a long time. From collecting evidence to contacting the police, from preparing the remote control to choosing the dress, I took every step with caution, afraid of making even the slightest mistake. Now, it's finally a success. The car started slowly, and the streetlights outside the window receded one by one. I leaned back in my seat, closed my eyes, and the smiles of my parents flashed in my mind. "Mom and Dad, can you see? Those who wanted to harm me and swallow your hard work have all received their due punishment. I will take good care of Shin's, making it stronger than before, and I won't let you down. Next, what I need to do is pull Shin's out of the mire and let it stand up again. Then I'll wait for Eric, Henry, Victor's verdicts, watching them pay the price in prison for what they did." The conspiracy I heard in the corridor of the Platinum Royal Hotel has finally come to a satisfying end at this anniversary gala, and my life will also turn to a new page. No longer Mrs. Lin, dependent on a man, but the chairman of Shin's, in control of my own destiny. 3 weeks have passed since the farcical anniversary dinner of the Lin family. In these 3 weeks, the Shin Corporation has gradually returned to normal. Michael led the team to recover 90% of the transferred assets. The cooperation projects that were messed up by Eric before were also renegotiated with the partners because I presented evidence of the Lin family's crimes. The old employees in the company are very supportive of me, and even some middle-level managers who were previously wavering are completely relieved because they saw my resolute methods. Detective also sent a message. Henry and Victor confessed to the crimes of transferring assets and inciting murder. Melissa was sentenced to 3 years for actively testifying. Eric's case is more complicated. Attempted intentional homicide plus embezzlement will result in a heavier sentence. The court will open next week to pronounce the sentence. The day before the court hearing, the detention center called me and said that Eric wanted to see me and had very important things to tell me. I hesitated for a moment, but decided to go, not because I was soft-hearted, but because I wanted to see with my own eyes what this man, who once wanted to put me to death, would look like before utter despair. It was the same visiting room as last time, the same cold iron table. Eric was even thinner than the last time I saw him when he was brought in. The grey vest hung loosely on his body. His hair was long enough to cover his eyes, the handcuffs on his wrists had rubbed a red mark, the whole person looked like a deflated ball. He no longer had any of his former spirit. When he saw me, he was stunned for a few seconds, then suddenly pounced on the table, grabbed the edge of the table with both hands, and his voice was hoarse as if it had been rubbed with sandpaper. "Wonwan, it's really you, You finally came to see me. I pulled out a chair and sat down, put my bag on my lap, leaned back, and kept my distance from him. What do you want from me? My tone was very light, without hate, without resentment, without any emotion at all, as if I were talking to a stranger. Eric probably didn't expect me to react this way. He was stunned for a moment, then his eyes turned red and his voice began to tremble. Wonwan, I know I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. Last time in the hotel hallway. I shouldn't have said those things. I shouldn't have wanted to hurt you. It was all Melissa who forced me. My dad forced me. I never wanted to hurt you. The person I love is you. Love me. I looked at him, finding it ridiculous. Eric, is your way of loving me to poison me, to make sure I never wake up? Is your way of loving me to secretly transfer my parents' lifelong efforts, trying to turn Shins into your Lin families? No, it's not like that. Eric was so anxious that tears streamed down his face. He tried to reach for my hand, but the table blocked him. Wonwan, I was out of my mind back then. My dad said that as long as you died, the Shin family would be ours, and we could live a better life. I was so confused that I listened to him. I regret it now. I really regret it. He began to recall our past, his voice choked with sobs. Wonwan, do you remember the first time we met, at the Shin Corporation's annual meeting? You were wearing a white dress, standing on the stage giving a speech. I thought then that you were the most beautiful girl I had ever seen, and the day we got married, you said you would always believe in me, always be with me. I still remember how you looked so clearly. We used to be so good together. Wonwan, can you give me another chance? As long as you help me plead with the judge to reduce my sentence by a few years, when I get out, I will definitely make it up to you. I will never associate with Melissa again. I will never touch a penny of the Shin Corporation's money. I will be your slave. Okay. The more he spoke, the more agitated he became, and finally, with a thump, he knelt on the ground. The floor of the visiting room was cement, and the sound of him kneeling was particularly loud, startling even the officers next to us. Eric knelt on the ground, kowtowing to me repeatedly, his forehead quickly showing bloody marks. Wonwan, I beg you. Please give me another chance. I can't go to jail. If I go to jail, my life will be ruined. I beg you, Wonwan. His tears mixed with the blood from his forehead, streaming down his face, making him look disheveled and pathetic. If it were before, I might have felt sorry for him, softened, and couldn't help but forgive him. But now, I only feel numb. Those past sweet and beautiful moments had long been completely crushed by his words in the hotel hallway. Once she drinks that glass of wine, she won't need to wake up again. Things that are broken, even if pieced back together, will have cracks and can never return to their original state. I watched him kneel on the ground and kowtow, his voice still very faint. Eric, you don't need to plead with me. Your sentence was determined by the judge based on your crimes. It's not something I can influence. And I paused, looking into his eyes, and said, word by word, I will not give you any more chances. Because you didn't leave me any chance at all back then. Eric's kowtowing motion stopped instantly. He looked up, his face covered in tears and blood, his eyes filled with disbelief. Wonwan, how can you be so cruel? Don't you care at all about our 3 years of marriage, marital affection? I picked up my bag, stood up, and prepared to leave. From the moment you decided to poison me, the affection between us as husband and wife was already severed. Oh, right. I walked to the door, stopped, and looked back at him. I have one more thing to tell you. We have recovered 90% of the assets that you transferred from the Shin Corporation, and the police have also tracked down the whereabouts of the remaining 10%, which will be recovered soon. Your father and Victor will probably be sentenced to more than 10 years because of the severity of their crimes. Melissa was sentenced to 3 years, but she's not having a good time in prison. I heard she's being bullied badly by other inmates. The Lin family, and everything you cared about, is gone now. Eric's face turned pale instantly. He collapsed onto the floor, staring at me with empty eyes, muttering to himself, gone, all gone. I didn't look at him again and turned to walk out of the visiting room. It was already dark when I walked out of the detention center. Several police cars were parked at the entrance, their lights flashing red and blue, reflecting on the ground like cold wounds. As soon as I got into the car, I saw the police officers bringing Eric out of the interview room. He was being held up by 2 officers. His head hung low, his hair covering his face, making it impossible to see his expression. But I could see that his shoulders were shaking uncontrollably, and he looked like a puppet that had been drained of all its energy. The police car's lights shone on him, stretching his shadow long on the cold concrete floor, making him look desperate and pitiful. The car slowly started moving, and I watched the police car carrying Eric in the rearview mirror, watching the police lights gradually fade into the distance, and my heart finally felt completely calm. This revenge, which began in the hotel corridor, finally came to a satisfactory end on this night. Eric, Melissa, Henry, Victor, all those who wanted to harm me and swallow the Shin Corporation have received their due punishment. They have lost their wealth, their freedom, and everything they once possessed, while I have not only protected the Shin Corporation and my parents' hard work, but also found myself. I once thought that love was everything, that marrying Eric would bring lifelong happiness. It wasn't until that day in the hotel hallway, hearing his cold words, that I realized relying on anyone is not as good as relying on myself. No matter how beautiful love is, it can't withstand the greed and treachery of the human heart. The current me is no longer the naive woman who only knew how to depend on men, but the Shin Group chairperson who can stand on her own. I can support the industry my parents left behind, protect the people around me, and seek justice for myself. The car drove into the city, the neon lights on the side of the road receding one by one. I looked at the night scene outside the window, and a smile slowly crept onto my lips. The past is behind me, and the future awaits. From now on, I will take good care of the Shin Corporation and make it stronger. I will live well, see the scenery I want to see, and do the things I want to do. I will let those who once looked down on me and wanted to hurt me know that I, Evelyn, am not so easily bullied. That night, the lights of the police car reflected Eric's desperate face, and also illuminated my path to the future. From then on, no one could stop me from living the life I wanted. Alright, that's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. We'll keep updating with more exciting stories, and we look forward to seeing you next time.